Hello MotoGP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today, in the fourth episode of the DAZN documentary Volver. Ducati's sporting and technical leadership reflected on Marc Márquez's emotional return to the top. Gigi Dall'Igna praised the champion's planning and sacrifice, but he also flagged the risks that have marked Márquez's career. Marc Márquez has closed one of the most emotional seasons of his career with clarity, calm, and conviction. After reclaiming the MotoGP crown in 2025 following years of physical and mental struggle, the Ducati rider reflects on why this title means more than any other, and why stability, not obsession, defines his outlook for the future. Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola has a simple message for Jorge Martín ahead of the 2026 season: be patient, back yourself, and let the results follow. After a comeback March 2025 for the 2024 world champion, Rivola says Martín already knows he's fast. Now he must rebuild rhythm on the Aprilia and trust the process. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Dall'Igna framed Márquez's title as more than a sporting achievement. It was a human story of determination and careful planning. After years of injuries and doubt, Márquez rebuilt himself step by step, making difficult choices on and off the track to restore competitive form. For Ducati, welcoming a rider of his caliber was vindicated not only by wins and points, but by the narrative arc, setbacks, hard work, and ultimately redemption that resonated beyond the paddock. It was undoubtedly a wonderful, memorable day, especially as a person, more so than as an engineer. That line captures how the celebration in Japan was felt, not simply as engineering success, but as a personal triumph for a rider and a team. Dall'Igna emphasized that Márquez's return wasn't accidental. It was engineered through clear choices, changing environment, surgical decisions, focused rehab, and a willingness to start again at different levels of competition. The engineer credited not just natural talent, but a disciplined plan and a level head that allowed Márquez to rebuild confidence and performance in a structured way. Because of the determination, the will, the clarity, and the intelligence he showed in planning his return. That cocktail of traits, Dall'Igna argued, is what transformed a risky comeback into a sustainable campaign. But praise was balanced with realism. Dall'Igna reminded viewers that Márquez's defining characteristic, his willingness to push limits, has been both a strength and a source of trouble. Those same instincts that produce miraculous saves and breathtaking overtakes can also lead to mistakes and injuries when they push beyond the necessary threshold. The point wasn't criticism, but context. Greatness often rides hand in hand with danger. His limit is that he takes risks, or used to take risks, even when it's not necessary. For Ducati, harnessing that aggression while protecting the rider became part of the wider task of managing a champion. Dall'Igna closed with a thoughtful note: had Márquez tempered some impulses with greater clarity at certain moments, he might have avoided some of the setbacks that prolonged his comeback. It's not an indictment of character, but a lesson, for Márquez and for any elite athlete, about matching courage with prudence to preserve a long and prosperous career. With a little more, let's say, clarity of mind, he would have made fewer mistakes. That balance, bravery guided by measured judgment, is the real takeaway Dall'Igna wanted the audience to hear. Gigi Dall'Igna's reflections in Volver paint a rounded portrait. Marc Márquez's 2025 title is a triumph of grit, planning and talent, but it also reminds us of the razor-thin line champions walk between brilliance and cost. Ducati celebrates the result, acknowledges the risks, and takes the lesson forward, valuing both the daring that wins races and the clarity that sustains careers. For Márquez, the 2025 championship isn't just another trophy, it's the conclusion of a long, uncertain journey marked by surgeries, doubt, and perseverance. This was not a dominant title won by momentum alone, but one earned through resilience and patience after more than 6 years away from the top. That context transforms the achievement into something deeply personal, outweighing any future statistical milestone. The 2025 title is my most important title of all. In Marquez's own assessment, no future championship, not even a 10th, could surpass the meaning of this comeback. Returning to the summit has changed how Marquez approaches racing itself. While the hunger to compete remains, the urgency to dominate has softened into something more controlled. The pressure he once placed on every lap has been replaced by trust in the process, shaped by years where simply racing again was the primary victory. This maturity defines how he looks toward 2026, motivated, but no longer consumed. A 10th title wouldn't be better than this year's, considering everything it took to get here. It's a perspective born not from comfort, but from survival at the highest level. The end of the season has brought ceremonies, awards, and public recognition. Marquez accepts them with gratitude, seeing them not as ego boosts, but as acknowledgement of the road traveled. Each accolade symbolizes respect for resilience, a career that refused to end quietly. For him, these moments validate the struggle as much as the success. Any recognition is always welcome. Behind the smiles, however, the work never truly stops. Even as a world champion once again, Marquez remains in recovery mode. His right shoulder continues to demand attention, turning winter into another period of rehabilitation instead of rest. The margins are small, the details constant, and progress is measured not in weeks, but in everyday movements. For Marquez, recovery is no longer dramatic, it's routine. I measure myself every day, even how I pick up a fork or a glass of water. It's a reminder that his comeback is still being protected, step by step. One symbolic moment of the season came when Rafael Nadal invited Marquez to share center stage during a gala photo. Beyond the gesture, it carried deeper meaning. Marquez has long drawn inspiration from athletes who rebuilt themselves after injury, and Nadal's resilience during his Australian Open triumph became a personal reference point during Marquez's darkest periods. For me, he is a role model and an inspiration. Greatness, Marquez believes, isn't about avoiding adversity, it's about redefining yourself through it. As speculation around contracts and long-term plans continues, Marquez remains unbothered. The future doesn't dominate his thoughts. Comfort, performance, and trust do. Ducati has given him a platform where he feels competitive, understood, and aligned. For now, that's more valuable than chasing change for its own sake. Why change what works and where you feel comfortable? It's a philosophy that reflects not hesitation, but confidence. Marc Márquez ends 2025 not chasing what comes next, but appreciating where he stands. A champion again, grounded by experience, focused on health, and at ease with his choices. For Marquez, success is no longer about control, it's about balance. And at Ducati, that balance feels just right. Martin's 2025 campaign was heavily disrupted by injury, limiting his running and leaving him short of the seat time needed to fully adapt to Aprilia's package. Rivola framed the problem plainly. A world champion returning from repeated setbacks doesn't need to sprint to immediate vindication. He needs measured days on the bike to rebuild confidence, rhythm, and trust with engineers. The message is aimed at the rider and the wider paddock. Expectations are inevitable for a man of Martin's caliber, but the sensible route is gradual regain rather than rush demonstration. The first thing that Jorge needs to think about is to believe in himself, believe in the fact that he can also be there. That belief, combined with structured rehab and testing, is the foundation Rivola wants Martin to lean on as the new season opens. Rivola made a key psychological point. Martin doesn't have to prove his speed to anyone. The pedigree is already established. Instead of forcing performances to silence doubters, Rivola advised a calmer approach that prioritizes steady adaptation. That means treating each test and race like a building block, gather data, refine position, and let incremental confidence compound into genuine pace. For a rider used to immediate results, this requires discipline and a shift in mindset, but Rivola believes it's the right path. He doesn't need to show us that he's fast. Everybody knows he's super fast. Removing the pressure to perform instantly can make Martin's comeback more effective and less fraught. Rivola sketched the realistic route back, small steps that enlarge capability. First aiming for safe race finishes, then for top 15, then top 10, and finally top 5 and podiums as confidence and fitness return. The CEO stressed the process is deliberate. Rushing risks regression or fresh injury and undermines long-term prospects. That measured progression was what convinced Aprilia to deny Martin's mid-season contract break request and instead back a careful 2-year approach that lets him rediscover his best self in controlled stages. Sometimes, when you ride too much, things go against you. So, there is a route to do it. Rivola's prescription is pragmatic, controlled mileage, smart testing, and an incremental performance ladder, not headlines. Beyond advice, Rivola emphasized Aprilia's belief in Martin and their wider ambition. The team enjoyed its best-ever season in 2025, 4 wins and second in the constructors' table, and plans to build on that momentum. Rivola wants Martin to feel that backing, a squad willing to invest in his recovery and in long-term results rather than instant proof. He also hinted at the importance of a full, healthy teammate package. When both riders are 100%, Aprilia is stronger and Martin's path to contention becomes clearer. I think Jorge understands that there is potential in this team and this bike. That acknowledgement closes the loop. The machinery is there, the team is stable, and Martin's role is to take time to become the rider who can fully exploit it. Massimo Rivola's counsel to Jorge Martín is both simple and strategic. Believe, be patient, rebuild, don't rush to prove yourself. For a rider with world champion talent but interrupted momentum, that route may be the surest way back to the front. As Aprilia prepares for 2026, the team's job is clear: provide the platform, protect the process, and let Martin's pace emerge when the time is right. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!